Over the past 10 sessions, you've learned that your attention can be focused and directed in a number of ways. There's another approach to developing a more focused mind that we've only hinted at thus far. And this approach works with what's often called a spacious or panoramic focus of attention. Just as you might choose to zoom in and focus on a tree, or you might zoom out and expand your focus to encompass the whole forest, the panoramic focusing method can be contrasted from a narrow focus of attention. This flexibility in adjusting the focus of your mind is a critical thinking skill which allows you to focus in on a question or a work process, and then expand the focus of your thinking to see it in relation to the larger system that it's a part of. The panoramic focus of attention is like the quality of attention that opens up when you sit on top of a mountain. You open the focus of your attention to reach out to the clouds and the stars, and out to include all of the valleys and cities below you. It's as though the focus of your mind expands to include everything from the peaks around you to the most distant horizons. And as you hold this focus of attention, you begin to see and sense things with a special kind of clarity and joy. You begin to discover that everything here in the space of your awareness is interconnected, and you begin to sense that it all belongs to a larger system in which information, energy, resources, rain, and sunshine comes and flows. Here are 6 simple steps that you can take to open these dimensions of the focused mind state whenever you like. First, because it's hard for the mind to open when your body is tense, take a few deep breaths and relax. Second, let your eyes be soft and relaxed, and allow your peripheral vision to open up as wide as you can. Third, remember to smile to yourself so that you don't take this too seriously or try too hard to get this right. And next, as you sit there right now, focus your attention and sense yourself sitting right at the center of your universe. And now consciously open the field of your attention to become aware of your place in the world. Sitting here, allow the focus of your attention to reach out and become aware of what's in front of you. And let it reach out and become aware of what's behind you. Open the field of your awareness out to what is to your right and to your left, and then let it reach up to what's above you and down to what's below you. Fifth, begin to notice the things around you, and as you look at them, notice both the objects, like cars and buildings, people and desks, but also include in your awareness the space between things. As you begin to notice the space and distance between things, begin to view space itself as the medium that connects everything, rather than something that separates things. Remember that if you could expand the spectrum of your senses, the open spaces around you would be sensed as full of information waves. If you doubt this, just turn on a radio or a TV and remember how much invisible information surrounds you and bombards you all the time. And finally, expand this quality of panoramic attention to your listening. Just expand the focus of your listening to include all the sounds within you and around you. Experience how these sounds emerge from the silence, move through space, and then fade away back into silence again. Now, just let your mind be this very open listening space, like a huge antenna. Hold a receptive but focused quality of mind that's open to all the sounds and thoughts and perceptions that come and flow. Outwardly, this panoramic view is like the vastness of space which contains all things and worlds. Inwardly, this panoramic focus opens to encompass the vastness of your mind, which, like the sky, contains and embraces the infinite number of experiences, perceptions, thoughts, and mental images. When you've truly mastered the focused mind state, you're able to integrate both the outer expanse of your senses and the expanse of your inner thoughts and awareness. And you're able to focus in on all of the experiences that weave the fabric of your life and work. If your work requires you to think about complex and interrelated systems, or to access breakthrough ideas for intuitive problem solving, you'll find that the ideas and methods that you'll learn here will be very useful for you. You'll learn how to observe, sense, and listen to the whispers of wisdom that speak to you from the open spaces and quiet places in your life, and you'll discover that these are actually rich in information, inspiration, and power. You'll also learn how the power of your focused mind can be expanded to panoramic proportions. And you'll hear about how your brain can work more efficiently in the effortless attention of a more spacious and panoramic focus of attention. When you learn to carry this quality of mind into your work, you'll find that you're able to focus better on whatever you're working on. And at the same time, you can see how the project that you're working on fits within the larger system of projects, information flow, and forces that comprise your business.
Once, when we were with Zhang Ji, one of our martial arts teachers, he held up his hand with outstretched fingers and asked, "How many is this?" Most of us answered 5, and one person answered 1, thinking of his whole hand as a single unit. Quietly, Zhang Ji smiled. He was a professor of philosophy and martial arts from Beijing and trained in the ancient Taoist ways. With the patience of a wise grandparent, he said, "Please pause to examine the thinking that led you to say 5. Question how your habits of focusing your attention might be preventing you from seeing some important elements that you may have overlooked." Zhang Ji explained that in his country, even from an early age, children are trained to notice things and to see them in context or in relationship to a larger gestalt or field of relationships. Holding up his open hand with his fingers pointing up, he counted and said, "In your country, you count the hand like this, and then touching each of the fingers from the thumb to the little finger, he counted 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You count what's easy to grab hold of, easy to see, and easy to measure. But this leads you to ignore many important things. But in my country," he explained, "even from an early age, a child is trained to look more closely and to pay attention not only to things, but to things in relationship or context. In China," he explained, "we would count like this." Holding up his hand again, he counted 1 for the thumb, then 2 for the space between the thumb and the index finger, then 3 for the index finger, 4 for the next space, and so on, up to 9. 5 fingers and 4 spaces, he explained smilingly. "So," he said, "how many other gaps are there in your perception? How many other things and possibilities do you overlook because you grab on to what you can easily see and measure and ignore the subtler realities that speak to you from the open spaces and silences in your life?" When you think about your life and work, what might represent the fingers of the hand? And what might represent the all-important but overlooked spaces between the fingers? Generally speaking, you'll only focus your attention on the spaces or the overlooked regions when they begin to show either problems or extraordinary or unusually good things. By that time, it's often too late to do much about them, as they've been growing slowly and unseen for some time. Learning to step back and open the focus of your attention to observe and think about the whole system that you're working in and with is really the key to breakthrough systems thinking. Ultimately, your challenge is to give your complete attention to whatever job you're doing, while still keeping in mind the place that that task, project, or conversation has in your larger business plan.
When people ask us to describe our work, we'll sometimes describe it as making the invisible visible. We come in and work with large businesses that are retooling and redesigning themselves to work better in the face of change. And our job is to help individuals, teams, and management to focus their attention on the patterns of thinking, assumptions, patterns of communication, and organizational structures that are largely invisible and taken for granted. Some of these patterns work well, and you want to build on them, while others are dysfunctional, unproductive, and even dangerous, and you'll do well to diminish them. When these behaviors, beliefs, or ways of working are pointed out, they're often very obvious, but somehow they've been functioning in an invisible way because no one really focused on them or named them before. As you learn to live and work more in the focused mind state, you learn to bring a fresh set of eyes and a more open mind and listening to your work. This will enable you to recognize many things that you'd like to build on and many ways of working that you can improve. While in years past there's been a high emphasis on continuous improvement, we're seeing a growing recognition that individuals, teams, and organizations need to also focus on continuous learning. In today's complex and fast-paced world, it's easy to overlook many things that are important. If you look at your life objectively, you'll discover that you live in a world of invisibles and subtle energies, and influences that lie beyond the spectrum of your ordinary sense perception. Since control follows awareness, it seems that you're challenged by your modern world to expand your awareness and sensitivity in order to become more in control of your life. When I was doing my research at the University of Washington, I encountered a very interesting study in which numerous qualities of mind were compared for their value in different cultures. The study was looking to identify what qualities of mind were most important to high-level health and performance. The quality of mind that came out most universally valued across cultures was open-mindedness. To an open mind, all things are welcome. Everything's viewed with acceptance, appreciation, objectivity, and nothing is overvalued or undervalued. The open mind is able to focus fully on anything and is able to shift and give equal attention to multiple perspectives and points of view. The open mind is like the vastness of space in which an infinite variety of things and sounds and energies can freely come and flow. The open mind, like the open heart, can embrace and accept everything and everyone. It's free from fear. Though you were born with an innate flexibility of attention and open-mindedness, over time, due to learning and stress, you've acquired certain habits of attention that have diminished this natural flexibility of mind and sense of well-being.
Some of the most interesting research on the focused mind state comes from the work of our colleague Dr. Les Fehmi at Princeton University. What's most interesting and unique about Les's work is that it shows a profound and measurable relationship between the quality of mind, brain function, and the perception of space. Over more than 25 years of research, Dr. Fehmi and others attempted to identify and isolate the quintessential techniques for bringing about a brain state conducive of the quality of effortless attention that often accompanies the flow state. After studying the neurological and psychological effects of many methods of mental training, Dr. Fehmi concluded that the quality of mind that produced the most dramatic enhancements in mind-brain function is what he called a quality of objectless imagery. Working with objectless imagery, you learn to focus your attention on three important and often overlooked dimensions of experience: space, distance, and volume. While normal attention and traditional methods of mental imagery narrowly focus in on a single idea or focus of perception, objectless imagery opens the focus of your attention to include space, distance, and volume. As you open the aperture of your attention to encompass a more global view of the whole environment around you, or to consider the whole system that you're analyzing, you'll learn the inner art of focusing not on things, but on the context of things. Opening the focus of your attention, you'll begin to see not only a leaf, but a tree, or not only a tree, but the whole forest. Learning to live and work with a more open, panoramic quality of attention, you'll discover a world of spatial connections and patterns of relationships, rather than a world of disconnected and separate things. When your brain is functioning like this, it's as though all of the different rhythms and functions begin to play by the same tune rather than in opposition to each other. Just imagine the quality of mind that's activated at the times when all of the cells in your brain are pulsing and firing in synchrony with each other. When you're in this zone of brain function, Your subjective experience is one of flow and a delightful quality of effortless attention and expansive awareness. With this quality of mind-brain functioning, you're able to focus your attention effortlessly. Understanding the profound applicability of teaching people to use objectless imagery, Dr. Femi and Dr. George Fitz developed a system commonly referred to as open focus training. In medical centers and peak performance training centers around the globe, this approach is commonly used to teach people how to reduce stress and pain, manage their energy more efficiently, and to work at high levels of health and performance even when faced with difficult circumstances. In some pioneering research by Dr. Carl Powers, it was demonstrated that athletes undergoing arduous workouts were able to go significantly longer and further while holding an open, focused mind state than people who were encouraged to push hard in a tight and narrow focused way.
Let's take a few minutes and probe more deeply into this quality of objectless imagery and panoramic attention. To get a feeling for how this works, can you imagine your body is actually a big inflatable balloon? And that as you breathe naturally, you can fill your whole body with a greater sense of inner openness, flow, and awareness. As you inhale now, can you imagine that you fill your hands with awareness? And as you exhale, can you imagine feeling the volume of your hands, the space inside of your hands filled, flowing, and vibrating with awareness? With your mind and your inner awareness, can you imagine that you can mentally touch each finger from the inside out and feel the volume and shape of each finger? Now as you inhale, is it possible for you to focus your attention in your arms and to imagine filling your arms with awareness? And as you exhale, can you imagine dissolving any sense of density or solidness in your arms so that you feel the whole space? With the next few breaths, can you imagine focusing your attention within your head and neck and filling this entire region with a sense of inner openness and flowing awareness? And now with the next few breaths, can you imagine inflating your whole chest and abdomen, your hips and buttocks? And can you imagine or feel this whole region as open inside, filled with the flow of sensations and vibrations? Can you sense or imagine the distance between your breastbone and your backbone? And as you breathe, can you sense or feel the volume of your lungs filling and flowing? Now with the next few breaths, can you imagine focusing your attention to fill your legs from the hips all the way down to the tip of your toes, so that you feel the whole volume of your right leg now, and then your left leg, and imagining or sensing the space within both legs at the same time. And now, with a few deep, full breaths, can you feel, sense, or imagine that your entire body is filled by the breath, and that the body is completely unified inside and open to the flow? And can you imagine that any sensations or feelings, be they pleasurable or painful, are free to come and flow within this inner open space of your body, and that this inner open space is open to the flow? Once you get a feeling for how this works, you can shift into this sense of space and fill your body with awareness in the snap of your fingers or with a single breath. For example, as you inhale, you can focus your attention at the center of your body. And as you exhale, allow it to ripple out like a rock dropped into a reflection pool to splash off of the top of your head, your fingertips and toes, and filling your whole body. And then with the next breath, you can feel your whole body as a unified, open, internal space, filled with a sense of awareness and vitality. Once you get a feeling for the practice of this panoramic quality of attention, you can further extend the sense of space, distance, and volume to how you perceive yourself in relationship to your surroundings. For example, building on the foundation of the previous image of your body as filled with space and open to the flow of energy and vitality, can you imagine now that you can also include into your awareness the sense of space or distance between your left foot and your right foot? And is it possible for you to sense or imagine the space or distance between the fingers of your hands? And is it possible for you to include in your awareness both the experience of your feet and the space between your feet, and of your fingers and the spaces between your fingers all at the same time? And now as you look out and into your world, can you experience your body sitting here right at the center of your universe, the place of your greatest power, right here and right now? And can you imagine or sense the distance from the top of your head to the ceiling? Can you sense or imagine the distance from your body to whatever is in front of you and to whatever is behind you? And can you also reach out with your awareness and sense or imagine whatever is to your left and to your right? Is it possible for you to open the focus of your attention to include whatever is above you and below you? As you sit here at the center of your world, can you sense or imagine that the space around you actually connects you to your world, and that it carries the flow of sounds, smells, images, and heat and wind that tell you about the world around you? As you look out into your world now, is it possible for you to focus your attention on the spaces between things, so that you begin to discover and notice both cars and the spaces and distances between cars? And as you look out, you give equal attention to buildings and people and to the spaces and distances between things. This panoramic quality of mind is commonly encountered at the top of a mountain and has been described by many people in different ways. For example, Carl Jung, the great psychiatrist, once described this quality of mind like this. At times, he said, I feel as if I'm spread out over the landscape and inside of things, and am myself living in every tree and in the splashing of the waves, in the clouds and the animals that come and go, and in the procession of the seasons. If it's possible for you to imagine or experience any or all of these things, and the spaces between things, then you've been successful at getting a feeling for this quality of panoramic focus of mind.
In the focused mind state, you begin to see clearly what's really going on and how things really work. And as you get more focused and see more clearly, you find that you can just naturally relax and open the focus of your attention to work with more and more complex ideas or systems. As the focus of your attention opens, you begin to see the connections between things. And you come to 3 very important realizations about how your mind works. First, you discover that the contents of your mind are constantly moving and ceaselessly changing. You can no more stop this flow than you can stop a powerful river or stop the wind. And if you could stop it, it would cease to be the river, the wind, or the mind. Second, you discover that within or beneath this flowing movement of mind is a deep, quiet, inner stillness that's completely undisturbed by all the movement. It's a quality of mind like the sky that's completely undisturbed by the fierce winds of thoughts, images, and feelings that blow through the mind. This sky-like mind can contain any experience and is completely unstained by any of the contents of the mind. It's always clean, clear, and open to whatever comes and flows through it. The third and most important point here is that the movement and the stillness are both present in your mind at every moment. You can't have movement without stillness, or stillness without movement. You can't have silence without sound, or sound without silence. The great masters understand this third point well, and their exceptional performance seems to come out of this quality of mind. For example, when he broke the world downhill ski record, Steve McKinney said, "I discovered the middle path of stillness within speed, calmness within fear, and I held it longer and quieter than ever before." Tennis star Billie Jean King talks about the perfect shot, saying, "I can almost feel it coming. It usually happens on one of those days when everything's just right, when the crowd is large and enthusiastic, and my concentration is so perfect it almost seems as though I'm able to transport myself beyond the turmoil on the court to some place of total peace and calm." In describing the silent moments in the life of an athlete, Howard Slusher reminds you that, in searching for the sounds of sport, you quickly hear the roars of the crowd, the crack of the bat, and the thundering of racing feet. But if you listen a little harder and a little longer, you'll come to hear the silence. There is silence within the performer, in the tenseness of the crowd, in the fear of the hunter, and in the beauty of the ski slopes. In a very real way, silence is heard as an integral part of existence, and as such, provides for many combinations of feelings in the arena of sport.
As you learn to expand the focus of your attention, you discover that you can encompass a larger continuum of experience. You discover that you can actually be quite calm in the face of intensity, that you can be clear when the mind is filled with confusion, and that you can be fearless when the mind is filled with anxieties. You find that you can do something that you don't really enjoy in a way that doesn't prevent you from being happy. It's as though this panoramic focus of mind allows you to hold both ends of a rainbow at the same time, and to stay connected and focused even when you would tend to scatter and be distracted. The focused mind state gives you the power of mind to stay present, open, and connected in each moment, regardless of what's going on. Sort of like having a ship with a strong, sharp hull that maintains a steadiness even in heavy seas by slicing cleanly through even huge waves. So once again, look out through your eyes and behold the world around you. Intentionally choose to be here, fully focused and present. If you misunderstand the focused mind state, there's a danger of ignoring some very important dimensions of experience. You might just pay attention to forms and forget to pay attention to spaces, distances, and volumes. You might just listen to sounds and disregard the wealth of information that can be found in attending to silence. You might just pay attention to what is still without noticing what's moving, or just observe what is changing without noticing what remains unchanged. In the process, you discover that there is someone home here, someone awake and focused on what is real for you right now. And this quality of presence, looking out through your eyes, can say, "Yes, I'm seeing." And like the spaciousness of the sky, this quality of mind and presence can recognize and greet an infinite variety of experiences like so many stars or comets or winds whirling through your mind. So for 11 sessions now, you've been developing the power of the focused mind. You've learned to focus, to flow, and to develop greater flexibility of mind. And on this tape, you've learned to achieve a panoramic focus of attention that expands the field of your mind. If you were to study the inspiring lives of people who focus their energy to accomplish great things, you'll find one principle that repeats itself again and again. You'd find that you have the greatest power to speak when you've learned to be comfortable with silence. You can move and work with real power only when you've mastered stillness and peace. You find that you can only think clearly and powerfully when you've learned how to quiet your thinking. You can appreciate the beauty and the complexity of the visible world when you have learned to appreciate the space in which these beautiful and complex systems exist.
Now, as we near the pinnacle of our journey, charting the mountain of the focused mind state throughout this program, we're approaching the summit of our ascent. The completion of this audio journey marks the real beginning of the actual journey. As you return, re-energized from the mountaintop back into the valleys of daily life, you'll be challenged to integrate your heightened sense of awareness into new arenas of fulfillment and achievement. This final side will be divided into two sections. The first half will give you a number of areas that you can put the focused mind state into action. And the second half will give you guidelines and exercises to help activate the integration process and keep your momentum and commitment powered up for continuous high-quality focused learning and application. Let's begin by seeing how we can apply what we've learned to an arena where we spend most of our days, the workplace. In these highly competitive times, the complex and rapidly changing demands of the modern workplace pose a real challenge and opportunity for applying these principles at work. As you think about the increasingly stressful working conditions that many of us are faced with, you can quickly see how important it is, particularly for managers, to understand and respect these principles. If, for example, you're a manager who'd like to see the productivity and efficiency of your staff improve, you'd do well to reflect on how the following principles might be applied within your organization. First, quality work is the result of quality attention. Second, it's more satisfying, pleasurable, and productive to work in a focused and concentrated mind state. Third, a high quality of concentration is more likely when people have some choice about what they do and how they do it. And fourth, it's easier to focus your mind when you feel safe, supported, respected, and trusting of the people you work with. If you're in a management position, think about what you could do to create an environment for your team that's optimally conducive to each person giving the highest quality of attention to their work. This becomes especially important from a whole systems perspective when you consider how the quality of attention is related to the quality of performance, and how the quality of performance is related to the quality of goods and services that you deliver to your customers. If you want customers who are pleased with the quality of products, services, and attention they receive from you, then doesn't it make sense to build a foundation for that by designing an organization that supports people in developing the quality of attention?
How can we apply the focused mind state on a large scale? If you hold a fierce determination to make changes in the quality of your own life, little can be done to stop you. If you join together with others who share that commitment of focus and intention, and you support each other to make it happen, incredible things can be achieved. For example, John Kennedy's challenge to America to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade galvanized the energy and attention of hundreds of thousands of people to make an unheard-of leap forward in technology. On the team that built the Lunar Excursion Module, more than 30,000 people at multiple sites around the U.S. contributed to the project, with a 30 to 40% increase in productivity and performance. Neil Armstrong's one small step for man was both a giant leap forward for mankind and a giant leap forward for American technological development. One of the most inspiring examples of the focused mind state in action is the World Health Organization's smallpox project. People working there came to the agreement that the terrible disease smallpox could be eradicated from the face of the earth. The WHO team spread out around the globe and began a massive campaign to give immunizations to everyone living in regions where smallpox was still taking a heavy toll. After a number of years, they had succeeded in their task, and humankind was freed from one of its most devastating plagues. When the people at WHO saw what they'd accomplished, they began to say, "What's next?" This gave rise to the SEVA project, which targeted reducing the incidence of preventable blindness and restoring sight to many people. For example, for thousands of people, a simple 5-minute and $5 operation could restore their vision and return them to their communities as productive, contributing members. Another example of the focused mind state at work on a large scale was Japan's fierce commitment to rise to economic superiority after being crushed in World War II. When many people hold and share a similar quality of focus, they can demonstrate accelerated success in achieving a common goal.
What are some ways that we can apply the focused mind state to our personal achievements? In our work with tens of thousands of people over the past 25 years, we've seen again and again how the focused mind channels the energy, attention, and activity of people to produce incredible results in their lives, their work, and their communities. One of our favorite examples comes from our work as mind fitness coaches for Estelle Gray and Cheryl Marek, two Seattle women who set the world record for the women's tandem ride across America, better known as the RAM. Ever since its inception, the RAM had been heavily dominated by the achievements of men, and Cheryl and Estelle felt that it was time to demonstrate how well women could perform on the course. They had a commitment to showing other women that if they focused their intention and action wisely to achieve something, they could realize their goals. For about 8 months prior to the ride, we worked with Cheryl and Estelle, coaching them in personal energy management through biofeedback training, creative visualization, and a variety of related strategies. Both Estelle and Cheryl understood that over a long course, putting out at maximum levels would burn them out and not be conducive to optimal performance. We worked together to develop and refine their capacity to monitor and fine-tune their inner sensitivity in order to optimize their output. Our training sessions ranged from learning to control muscle tension and circulation to practicing strategies for how to go quickly and deeply asleep for short power naps along the way. Our goals were to strengthen their confidence and to develop the master skills necessary to monitor and optimize their mental and physical performance and their ability to work efficiently together throughout the long, arduous ride. When the time came, they had trained hard and wisely, and after departing from Santa Monica Pier, they held an average pace en route of 275 miles a day. They slept only 90 minutes per day and practiced the mind-body skills that they'd learned through the arduous climbs over the Rockies and during the long, boring days and nights crossing the plains. When they arrived at New York City Hall, 10 days and 22 hours later, the judges were amazed to see them cheerful and in great spirits. While many RAM riders had dropped by the wayside or completed the ride severely depleted, both Cheryl and Estelle felt that after a good meal and a good night's rest, they could have turned around and rode back to the West Coast. Their focus of mind and activity paid off, and their record has stood the test of time. In 1987, Cheryl rode the RAM on her own, riding a tougher route this time with over 75,000 feet of elevation gain. She crossed the country in 12 days and 5 hours and was recognized as Rookie of the Year for the women's division. Debriefing these rides with Cheryl and Estelle, their descriptions of encounters with boredom, faltering confidence, multiple levels of pain, qualitative shifts in attention, and the opening of extrasensory awareness during their ultramarathon rides were strikingly similar to the descriptions of meditators who engaged in cloistered contemplative marathons for similar lengths of time. They all demonstrated the power of making a commitment and the discipline that it takes to keep the mind focused over the long days, weeks, and months until their goals were reached.
In training for extraordinary performance, it's necessary to account both for universal biomechanical and psychological factors common to all people, and to the unique individual differences in temperament, psychophysiology, and the challenge at hand. The precise winning formula will vary from person to person and from time to time in a person's career. If I were coaching you in this process, I would have you look at 3 primary challenges. First, what is your purpose, your vision of success, and your deepest values? In essence, what are you really committed to achieving and believing? Getting a clear vision and definition of this is essential. Second, from your own experience, What are the strategies that really work well for you already? Let's refine and build on these. And the third step for you is to learn to use both old and new strategies for focusing attention in a more intelligent and intentional manner. Though outwardly your goal may appear to be to win a title, set a record, or advance your career, if you take a deeper look at your purpose, you will likely find that it's really much more than winning a title, setting a record, or getting a new job. The goal has mostly to do with who and what you will become in the process of moving toward some external ideal state. It's like the Zen practice of archery, where the purpose is not merely to hit the outer target, but rather to achieve a state of complete concentration and perfect mental serenity. To find the flow zone is the target for the optimal performer. When you're able to maintain a state of mental focus and calm internally, while achieving or hitting the target externally, you will have the proof that all of the inner work that you've done in this program has really paid off. You'll find that this is the same quality of mental focus that can help you to achieve whatever you're committed to in your life. Take some time and ask yourself, what do I most want to accomplish or realize in my life? Keeping in mind your answer to this question, write down your answers to the following 3 questions. Why is achieving this goal important to me? And why is this important to me? And then, why is this important to me? Do you get the flow of this? You can keep on going for a few more rounds of this if you like. When you boil down whatever you say is really fundamentally important for you, you'll probably find that there's some way of being or quality of mind and being that you deeply wish to bring more fully alive in your life. All of the intense outer work is accompanied by an inner growth and development. Long after the moment of realizing some outer goal, this inner thrust will continue to work in you, fueled by the knowledge that if you really focus your energy and action in an intelligent way, you can awaken whatever quality of life you wish to create for yourself, regardless of the outer conditions. And as you realize this about yourself, you'll come to the realization that if this is true for you, that in their own way, everyone is seeking for roughly the same quality of life. 2,300 years ago, Aristotle said that all living beings have a universal yearning to be happy, and that everything they do is an expression of that wish. 2,500 years ago, the Buddha said that all beings long for happiness and wish to avoid sorrow. Call it what you will, at the core of your biological and psychological being, you're looking for happiness. And in some way, this yearning focuses your attention, determines your choices, and guides your every action.
Finally, since this program aims to give you powerful strategies to help you find fulfillment in whatever task you're performing, how can you apply the principles of the focused mind state to make any activity more interesting and satisfying? Well, attention is activated by the interest aroused in the subject of your focus. As you become a connoisseur of your focusing patterns, you'll probably notice that you usually pay attention to what you enjoy. It's helpful to remember that etymologically, the root of the word interest means to be within. That means not merely to look at something from without, but to identify yourself with what you focus your attention on. Concentration will only be perfected when you're truly interested in or inspired by what you're directing your attention to. The French mathematician Henri Poincaré once remarked that the scientist does not study nature because it's useful. He studies it because he delights in it, and he delights in it because it's beautiful. If nature were not beautiful, it would not be worth knowing. And if nature were not worth knowing, life would not be worth living. Since sometimes, of course, you may need to concentrate on things that aren't that interesting to you, the challenge is to learn how to either make these activities more interesting or how to make the process of doing them with mindfulness become sufficiently interesting in itself to hold the focus of your attention. The concentrated mind embodies a paradox and requires a dynamic balancing of many mental factors. On one hand, it's like an English bulldog sinking its teeth into an object and holding on to it with tenacity, not letting go. On the other hand, if there's too much tension or tightness accompanying the grip, your mind will swiftly become exhausted and lose its power of continuity. Correct concentration is more like holding a delicate bird or a butterfly in your palm. The trick is to find an even balance of effort and effortlessness, of determination and allowing, of directing the flow of mental energy and resting in that flow. Concentration combined with the right amount of relaxation, both mentally and physically, is the real secret to success. That's why we always suggest that people begin to develop their concentration capacity by focusing their attention on interesting objects and activities that they enjoy. The enjoyment factor will usually help to hold your attention while providing the degree of dynamic relaxation needed to balance the effort being used to hold the focus of your concentration. Then, once you get a sense for what that balance of flow state concentration is like, you can begin to start applying what you've learned to more difficult and less pleasant or enjoyable situations. Pause now for a moment to consider what captures your attention so completely that your attention is least likely to wander. You might think of a beautiful view or of someone that you love. A favorite place to sit might come to mind, or a favorite activity such as listening to music, sewing, or jogging. While focusing your attention on this object or activity, let the mind remain clear and quiet. Avoid drifting into analysis of its color, shape, qualities, or origins. Just allow whatever it is to appear and be experienced vividly and continuously in your mind. Keep your mind poised, prior to thoughts, wholeheartedly focused on this object while remaining natural, alert, and relaxed. If you try too hard to stay focused, your mind will be catapulted into agitation and distraction. And if your rigor in maintaining your focus is too lax, the vividness of your attention will fade, and your mind will lose its clarity and drift into dullness. Every time your mind reaches a settled state, stop the session. Take a brief rest, and then resume your practice of settling the mind. Each training period should be brief in duration and made up of many shorter periods of focusing and relaxing. If you train your concentration in this way, you'll end each session with a sense of joy and accomplishment. Your confidence will grow, and you'll look forward to your next opportunity to practice. If you push too hard, however, you'll be in danger of losing this sense of joy and delight, and you'll be vulnerable to feeling tired and disappointed. This will lead you to practice less and be counterproductive for your goal of maximizing your potential.
So we've given you a number of ways that you can apply the focused mind state to your daily life. The essence of cultivating a focused mind state lies in making a commitment to enhancing the quality of attention that you bring to your whole life. Every activity, every situation, no matter how ordinary, provides an opportunity to strengthen the quality of your attention and develop the powers of your mind. Once you understand this and learn to use your mind time more wisely, you'll discover and tap a wonderful sense of joy, creativity, and delight in your life. By holding such a commitment to being in training in an ongoing and continuous way, you'll be able to transform and reclaim all those mindless, wasted moments. It's like discovering that some waste product from your business is actually a valuable resource that you can use to actually add wealth to your business. This audio program has introduced you to a wealth of methods that can be applied to your life and to your work to make a real difference. Now, there are 2 steps that you must take to reap the countless benefits of these methods and begin the integration process into your daily thoughts and activities. The first step is to listen to these tapes and review them on a regular basis. Research has shown that you must listen to a tape program at least 7 times before you fully digest the ideas contained within it. The next step is to put these ideas into practice and to begin to observe and understand the functions, patterns, and potentials of your own mind. As your observation and practice deepens, your understanding of your mind will also naturally deepen, and your ability to apply this material will become integrated more effortlessly and seamlessly into more and more of the spheres of your experience. We've been concentrating on 4 main themes of focus, flow, flexibility, and balance, and we've explored the various terrains of the focused mind state. Mindful awareness has been your walking stick and inner guide, equipping you with clarity and stability as you navigate through some of the new and sometimes difficult passages. You've had to stretch and build new muscles of mental mastery, and the rewards have been well worth it. In the process, you've come to understand 4 fundamental principles about your mind. First, the contents of the mind are constantly changing. Second, the changing flow of mind states is highly habitual, conditioned, and shaped by conscious and unconscious beliefs and interpretations of past experiences. Thirdly, there's a changeless quality of presence or silent witness in the mind that can observe the river of thoughts and images that flow through it. And fourthly, by strengthening the quality of presence or attention that you bring to the changing experiences of your life, you can discover new dimensions of insight, freedom, creativity, compassion, and power. Developing your powers of concentration is like building the booster rocket of your mind to have enough force to escape the gravitational field of your old limiting habits and reactive patterns of thought and action. Once you're free from these influences, the power of your attention can be focused like a laser beam to cut through confusion, or to shape and amplify the qualities of mind that you wish to embody more fully. Through your own personal experience, you learn firsthand that you can recognize and free yourself from the patterns of mind that previously limited and restricted your freedom. And the more you work with it, the more your confidence will grow.
Remember how when you began this training at the first level of mind, it was difficult to stay focused for any length of time? This is the level of confusion. Here your attention is easily distracted and rather superficial. Lacking in power, it's difficult to observe or think about anything in much depth. As a result of such momentary attention, the world appears highly fragmented. Things are seen as objects that are separate from each other and lacking in relationships. But as your practice of these methods deepens, the quality of your attention changes the way you see yourself and your world. Your growing power of concentration has led you to observe and think about things in a deeper way. As a result, you feel a greater sense of connection and closeness with whatever or whomever you bring to mind. This is the level of connection. At the third stage, your growing focus of mind leads you to perceive your world from an even deeper quality of mind. At this level of mind, you experience your world more in terms of fields of information and patterns of relationship. This means that you'll experience a flow and even a sense of communion with whatever you observe and think about. It's as though there's a flow of energy and information that circulates between you, the observer, and whatever or whoever you observe and think about. Here you begin to think about and experience yourself more in terms of waves of energy rather than separate particles of matter. This you could call the level of communication and communion. At the fourth stage of the focused mind state, you reach the peak of the mountain. The quality of attention that you direct toward things will lead you to know them in a deep and intimate way. At this level of unification, you experience yourself as the observer merging with what you're observing or thinking about. With this quality of mind, you're able to tune in so completely to what you're focused on that your attention penetrates whatever you observe and your intuition grows very strong. Such moments of feeling merged with what you're focusing on are actually quite common and happen often when you're very much in love with someone or in peak moments during a sports contest. When your attention mastery skills enable you to give such complete attention to anything you choose, then you'll find that your intuitive intelligence comes more fully alive. And you'll catch glimpses of expanded vistas opening up beyond this peak onto ranges of higher and higher magnitude. Having reached the peak of the mountain of the focused mind state, you now begin your descent back down to integrate your expanded view and heightened focus with your day-to-day world. This marks the beginning of a fifth stage in which the intensity of the unification subsides and you carry with you a deep and intimately intuitive understanding that's become integrated into your life. This wisdom gives rise to the faith and certainty that you're deeply connected to others and to the world around you.
The peak of our mountain is almost in sight now. Before we make our final ascent to the top, let's briefly review the 5 most important things to remember in developing single-pointed concentration. These guidelines will be part of your basic toolkit for successfully integrating the focused mind state into your daily life. First and foremost, focus on quality training time. Short and focused sessions are better than spending a long time and being spaced out. Take a break while your concentration is still good. This will leave you looking forward to continuing. Second, continuity of practice is the key. Like strengthening muscles, if you work out every day, or at least a few days a week, you'll see more results than if you only train once a month. Third, pick a method that you enjoy and look forward to working with. Remember how important enjoyment and interest are in building the power of your concentration. Practice focusing your attention on things or activities that you really enjoy and that you find the most beautiful or interesting. This will help you to build your capacity to then transfer your power of concentration to focusing on things that are less interesting to you. Fourth, practicing mindfulness throughout the day will strengthen the power of your focused concentration. By being more mindful of your walking, talking, eating, and thinking throughout the day, the quality of your attention will naturally grow. Then, when you really choose to zoom in and focus on something, your mind will already be more calm, collected, and focused to produce optimal results. And finally, remember to smile, relax, and enjoy your training periods. Build the power of the focused mind state while you're doing things you love to do. Having fun is an absolutely essential ingredient that will accelerate your progress and make your challenge sparkle. The reason you climbed to the top of the mountain in the first place was so that you could bring the experience of the whole mountain back into your daily life. If you really master the methods that have been presented to you along the way, you'll be able to sit in your car or at your desk or wherever you may be now and revisit any of the methods that you've been given. So that in this way you can sit at the top of the mountain even as you sit stuck in traffic and smile to yourself and say, yep, what an incredibly powerful and fantastic tool this focused mind fit for action really is.
So it's been a long, rich journey, and one that you'll repeat again and again. And each time you listen to these tapes, you'll discover some jewels that you may not have recognized in your previous listening. For now, let's pause. For one last appreciative look back up to the top of the mountain.
Before you pack up the last of your climbing gear into your rucksack and head home, take out your imaginary telescope or binoculars and focus them well. and see yourself still standing there on top of the mountain, awestruck at the beauty and the expansive view around you, before you, and within you. Wave at yourself in your mind's eye and set up an outpost there that you can always return to, knowing that those higher views are always available to you at any time within the realm of the focused mind state.